The Gospel OGs with Holland Burt, one of the many artists who have played with the Los Angeles Poverty Department, the LAPD, who's in our studio with our in-studio guest today, talking about the festival for all Skidrow artists coming up this weekend, Saturday, Sunday, October the 18th and 19th at Gladys Park, which is at 6 and Gladys, in the Skidrow area, 1 to 5 p.m. each day. Welcome to the Coon Round Report. May the peace and blessings of the life-giving creative spirit be upon you and upon your family. My name is Melvin Ishmael Johnson, coming at you live from Skidrow Studio, and I'm in the studio with my co-host, Earlene Anthony. Now, this week on the Coon Round Report, I'm delighted to have with us some members of the Los Angeles Poverty Department talking about the Festival of Skidrow Artists. But I want to see, do we have our students on the line yet? Okay, in a minute we'll be talking to some of the students from UCLA that will be coming out this Sunday at 1 o'clock from the UCLA Hunger Project, passing out hygiene kits at the Church of the Nazarene, located on 6th and San Pedro at 1 o'clock. We'll be talking to them in a few minutes. But I'm delighted to have with us in the studio some members of the Los Angeles Poverty Department, whose mission is to create performances and multidisciplinary artworks that connect the experience of people living in poverty to the social forces that shape their lives and community. LAPD works expresses the reality, hopes, dreams, rights of people who live and work in LA Skidrow area. Welcome to the Coon Round Report.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody say
Thanks,
something.
Mel.
I can hear you. Thank you.
Let's go around the table and introduce ourselves and our relationship to LAPD. Let's start on this end.
My name is Walter Fears. I've been a member of LAPD since 2009.
Hey, hi. I'm Harriet Brouwers, and I'm one of the directors of the group.
Mm-hmm.
Kevin Michael Key. I've been a member since 2002. I live, work, got clean and sober in Skidrow, and LAPD opened up the whole world for me.
My name is Austin Hines. I'm a member of LAPD. I've been with them since 2010 when I began as an intern from Cal State Northridge, and they could never get rid of me, so here I am.
Austin.
My name is Sylvia Hernandez, and I've been part of LAPD during the last 2 years. And I'm also call myself a humble servant of the community.
Mm-hmm.
My name is Carmen Vega, and I've been with LAPD since about 2009, 2010, and different productions that have been amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Hello, everybody. Leilani Sashay Zachary. I've been a member of Los Angeles Poverty Department, LAPD, since 1999.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Now, before we get into our in-depth discussion here about the festival and the history of LAPD, let us, I have on the line some UCLA students. I'm speaking with Dorothy.
Oh, yes. Hi, this is Dorothy.
Hey, Dorothy. How are you doing? Welcome to the Coon Round Report.
Oh, thank you. I'm doing well.
Now, tell us about your organization.
Yeah, so I guess to introduce myself again, my name is Dorothy. I'm the finance director for a student organization at UCLA called Hunger Project. We're a club that started in 1987, but we recently revamped to combine our already established hunger relief programs with mentorship and tutoring programs with the goal of breaking the cycle of poverty. Mm-hmm. So the people that we normally work with are people who lack permanent residence in LA, as well as at-risk youth.
Mm-hmm. And you're part of what you call the Hunger Project, right?
Yes.
Okay, can you talk about the event that you got coming up Sunday, coming down to the Skidrow area?
Yeah, sure. So we will be visiting Skidrow this coming Sunday, October 19th. And so the plan for that day is that the club will arrive at 1 p.m. We will be going to the Church of the Nazarene in Skidrow. And the plan is to distribute around 150 hygiene kits, as well as other food supplies. And then after distribution, we will be going on a tour led by Drama Stage. And the purpose of the tour and this event in general is to not only provide supplies, but to also raise awareness of poverty among our club members and the rest of the UCLA students. And I think that the tour led by Drama Stage will be a really excellent opportunity for all of us to learn more about the history of Skid Row, so that we as students can know, what area we're actually serving.
Yes, because this is about the third or fourth year that we've hosted you guys down here, either at the Church of the Nazarene, USEF, or the LAMP community. Now, do your organization also deal with any housing or anything like that in relationship to Skid Row?
We haven't really done anything with housing. I think the closest thing that we really do is not in Skid Row, but we would go to places like Westwood Transitional Village or PATH and work with kids there at the transitional housing unit. But I think like housing in Skid Row is definitely an area that we can investigate further, and maybe we'll have something to do with that in the future.
Because I looked at your website and I see that you also have a mobile unit, a couple of health things that are nice. Okay, so we are looking forward to that, looking forward to hosting you guys. Hopefully, we're trying to get somebody from the neighborhood council. I talked to Ron Smith about networking there also to take you guys around. But we're looking forward to that.
Yeah, thank you so much for this opportunity and letting us get to talk about what we're going to be doing this Sunday.
All right. Thank you very much, Dorothy.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye. Okay, I'm delighted to have with us in the studio, as I mentioned a little earlier. So let's, what I want to do now, I want to know, how did LAPD start? Can you talk about the history of it, the beginning?
The beginning is a long time ago. It's 1985. Next year we'll be celebrating our 30-year anniversary.
Woo-hoo! Wow.
Yes. That's 30 years of Skid Row. It started with John Malpede. He's the founder and the artistic director of the Los Angeles Poverty Department.
And your husband.
And he's my husband.
Yeah.
That's true. And he came in that time to Skid Row because he was a performance artist in New York. But at that time, homelessness was sort of becoming in the public eye. All of a sudden, it was very obvious that people were sleeping in the street, and it was becoming a real problem. And so even the word homelessness sort of became what was sort of invented almost. That's when it really started being used. And what he did was, and it was also the time that there was the Olympics in Los Angeles, and the city was being sanitized for the Olympics, and homeless people were being sent away and given one-way bus tickets. They're doing the same thing again, actually. And what he did was he started hanging out with a Catholic worker, because they are even longer on Skid Row, more than 40 years now. And so it was Jeff Dietrich and Catherine Morris, and behind the Catholic worker was Nancy Minty started a legal clinic. Inner City Law started there. And John started working with Inner City Law, trying to gather, he was gathering evidence as a paralegal, hanging out in the welfare offices, to get people reinstated on GR, on SSI. Housing situations were terrible, so we're also standing up for the rights of people living in the hotels, which were in terrible state at that time. And so he knew a lot of people. They were all writing down their stories, but he was of course an artist. And Nancy Minty said at a certain moment, "Why don't you make theater? Because that's what you do, right?" And so they started pushing the desks to the side after the lawyers went home and they started making theater. And that's what we're still doing. We still don't have our own space.
We still push desks.
How about the name? How did the name come about? How did the name LAP, the Los Angeles Poverty Department?
No, don't say that. We're not.
I've heard that the name was actually created by one of the members. Back in the day, they didn't know what they wanted to call the group, and one of the members came up with Los Angeles Poverty Department. I don't know exactly who that is, but they created the name. One of the members.
I also heard that very often the stuff we do comes from improv, and we try, hopefully, to reach a consensus. So everybody vibed on the LAPD aspect. And so one of the other leading contenders besides Los Angeles Poverty Department was lost and presumed dead. So we have a kind of cynical outlook at times, but we make very positive theater.
Let me ask this then. How can art, especially theater, impact areas like Skidrow?
Well, one of the things that we do is we always, the mission of LAPD has been to create community. And that's what we're still doing. So, you know, in the 30 years that Skidrow has been in existence, it was really also due to hard work of the Catholic worker and Jeff Dietrich, who implemented the Blue Book plan instead of the Silver Book plan that was presented, because when they built the high-rises on Bunker Hill, the plan was to, level everything in Skid Row as well. And the Catholic work and other people came with another plan, and they said, well, there's affordable housing here. It's in deplorable state, but why don't we preserve it rather than leveling at everything and then build new ones, because we know that's not going to happen. Why don't we make the housing that there is? And that was the beginning, really, of Skid Row Housing Trust. And Alice Callahan with Para los Niños. Well, that was not Alice Callahan, with Las Familias del Pueblo. But also Para los Niños started around the time. LAMP started around the time with Molly Lowry, and LA Poverty Department started. And it was
SROs around?
Yeah, so the SROs became, that's the CRA, the Community Redevelopment Agency, started with tax money from that was made on Bunker Hill. It was allocated for cleaning up the hotels and create affordable, safe housing in the Skid Row area. And because this is a unique situation, that is how the community started growing, and it had a possibility to flourish and to grow. And by now there is like 60 hotels. And everybody always talks about all the people sleeping on the street, but actually, for every person that there sleeps on the street, there are like 20 people living in affordable housing, because it's the only affordable housing almost in Los Angeles, right? And people have been living there for 30 years. There are people that are members of LAPD that have been members for 30 years, and they have contributed to making this community.
But the way that I think the theater aspect really goes into our community building work is, first off, it gives us an opportunity to tell our story, right? It's empowering. And because so much of what we do, all of our works are fact-based, right? But it still comes out of our interaction in the community as a whole. So when we begin to tell stories like we did in Utopia Dystopia, it's how gentrification has impacted me, right? And when you go to city council or you go to some other governmental organization, they tell you 2 minutes, and as you walk up, the clock starts ticking. Whereas we give a guy like me with a big old mouth an opportunity to have an extended soapbox, and that's work for us. And so once you start seeing, once you start feeling like your voice is being heard, you become emboldened to speak out. So, and then I'll shut up. But once you get started, and somebody actually is taking something that I said and put it in a performance project, then I'm likely to come back, and hopefully that's what happened with other people. But I've been around, like I said, a bit more than 12 years now, and I've seen people just continuously mature and grow and find their voices, which were dismissed in other venues, in this theatrical forum. And then from there, they get up and some of the most articulate community spokespeople.
Yeah, and not only that, I thought, like for now, I thought you guys did a lot of production that was so relevant. And I'm speaking now, one of my favorites, Agents in Action, that is so relevant now. They got this movie coming out, Kill the Messenger.
Yeah, Gary Webb.
Gary Webb.
Yeah, which I think is very important. And when the movie came out, I was thinking about that, how LAPD told this story, years ago. It's basically, laid the foundation for that. And it's so important, especially out here, because it's connected out here in the Los Angeles community and all of that.
Yeah, well, real quickly, Mel, but see, that's the storytelling aspect that's beautiful. But what's coming up with our Artist Festival is just the most amazing thing, because Skidrow, counter to what the mass media narrative has to say.
We're going to deal with it in detail.
Yeah, but it is a creative and diverse community. And how many artists have we already signed up over the years?
Oh, yeah. Well, that's really the history of the festival. We also create a database to show how many artists there are, and that there's a lot of talent in Skidrow. So this year, what's coming up now is the fifth year, the fifth anniversary of the festival.
We're going to talk about it in details. Because I forgot to tell you guys that I wanted you guys to perform something live. I'm telling you right now. I know Sashay going to do something. I know Carmen over there going to do something live in the second half of the show. Couple more questions I want to ask you, though. The LAPD, you travel a lot on the international scene. Do you see areas comparable to Skidrow, and can you talk about that?
Well, we always work in poor communities. We're at the moment we're working on a production called Redbeard, which is a performance we also did around the time, just before we started Agents and Assets. It was in 1999, and we did it in the mirror room of the Cortlandt Hotel with 10 actors and a very small audience. And it is like a duet with a movie of Akira Kurosawa. It's about feudal Japan and a doctor that works in a poor clinic, and how illness is connected to poverty, and how you can overcome your own hurt. That healing is not just a medical, but also a mental, spiritual thing. And so we did this performance also in Paris. Because in Paris, but in the suburb of Paris, with a big immigrant poor community, and we went there with 4 LAPDers, and then we made the performance with 40 people of that community, because it was a very, very big theater that was just had a new director, Pascal Rambert, who was a friend of us. And he invited us to come because the community has become sort of disconnected from the theater. So we went into the community and spoke with many people, and from the old people's home to the hip hop station and the swimming pool, and from everywhere we gathered people together, and we made this big performance of Redbeard. And we're going to do that again now in January. We'll perform it the 15th at USC at the MD Theater, and then we'll MC Theater, and then we'll also do it in Santa Monica at High Waste.
Well, let me ask you this. Oh, go ahead.
I just wanted to say, in my experience with LAPD and in my personal travels, and my opinion is that there is no community in comparison, socioeconomically, to Skidrow. No. Even when they call it poor or disenfranchised, there's no comparison.
No, it's different.
It's totally different.
Yeah.
I heard that the Bowery, in Brooklyn,
New York.
Yeah,
New York.
Manhattan.
Right. Yeah, it used to be an area that had a lot of poor people, and I'm not an expert on this.
A lot of
But now what John says this, now they have John Malpe, the founder and director of LAPD. He says, now they have a Whole Foods there and all these really nice, apartments and lofts and stuff like that. And that's a lot of the reason why, we have to make sure that Skid Row remains an area for poor people and, not a place where the developers are going to come in and create all these lofts and try to take over the power. So that's, that's important too, to realize that this area, like Henriette was talking about, the Blue Book plan has been earmarked as an area for the poorest people in Los Angeles. And that's very important, especially when you have the Main Street developers and people over here that are building all these really big lofts and trying to encroach on the territory over there. And a lot of those people are saying, hey, there is no history in Skid Row. There is no community. There's no culture. And a lot of the work that LAPD does is to counter that narrative and to say, no, you guys are wrong. Maybe you don't want to, look at it for what it is, but here's the reality of the situation. And so it's also a tool that we can use to fight against whoever's trying to come in and take over the neighborhood.
Now, how about the fact that when you look at the Skid Row area and you see the people that's in the tents and on the streets and all like that, it's got to be about 95% African American. Can you talk about some of the factors behind that?
Yeah. For one thing, I think it was I know I used to go to the City Hall and say that it was genocide at a mass. It's probably 80% now, and then you have Latinos and a small percent of
White
Asians and
Other races.
Asians, other races. No, Skid Row was actually developed. I'm going back to what you're saying. I don't even think we're on the map. Are we on the map yet again? Okay, so it's overlooked. You have City Hall right there, 3 blocks down the way, and no one looks at this as if it's a real place. Now, if I take you there, you can visualize it. It's a real place. So going back to what you're saying, I thought it to be a place. It was first developed for winos, and people came here because of the Depression, and poor white men were not allowed to be on social services, and this is what this place was developed for. But most of the men turned into winos, and at one time, an influx of African American males came down here because it was a way that they could come, and they were coming out of jails, things of that nature.
And the crack epidemic.
And then the crack epidemic, like you were talking about, agents and assets. People were not, African-American males were not given jobs. They were not looked at as, people. So they came down here and they were selling,
The neighborhood, the term Skid Row comes from the Northwest.
Right.
Where they used to, logging communities, and they used to slide the logs down the river. Right. And then what it came to symbolize was places where day workers and day laborers could rent a room by the hour, by the day, by the week as they found work. So, and it was around the railroad tracks. Downtown we have the railroad tracks.
But the train station used to be there.
Yeah, the railroad tracks, the train station, and there were a lot of single rooms that could be rented by the hour, by the day, by the week. And so that's what happened. It was housing of last resort for the poorest people, which working. It still is.
Who are working.
And then they ended up with this Blue Book plan and declaring the community a blight, they ended up preserving the housing of last resort instead of tearing it down, and then incorporating all the services, which became an attraction for some people. And when Reagan shut down all the mental health institutions,
They sent them here. They sent them to Skid Row.
The majority of the folks ended up in this community.
But what I'm interested in, because not so much the people that's on the inside, that got a place to sleep, in the SROs like that. I'm interested in the fact that when you see the people who's living in the tents and living on the streets and all like that, it's got to be over 90% that's African American. And probably the population of Los Angeles is, around 9-10% African American? And see, my interest is trying to figure out a way how a community can empower themselves. And so if you got 90% of the people that's laying in the streets that's African American, isn't this also an African American problem that should be at the leadership of trying to spearhead and solve this? Especially veterans that's laying in the streets too.
Can I go on that? Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, I think this is the responsibility as an artist in LAPD, to create awareness through the performances, communication, education.
Exactly.
And that's a clue. That's what I found out, because I interact with the community, deeply on the streets, any level, because I really wanted to learn and be able to do something. Something has to be done, and I'm there. Whatever it has to be done, I'm going to be taking action. So I learned that it's education. In LAPD, we have the platform, the possibilities to create that awareness, and the art that exactly creating our own story. The issues that we are living, creating history and telling this is what's happening, and this is happening because the city, the policies, the government policies to local level, state level, and federal level. So we have this opportunity. So I feel that this is a momentum that we have. We have media, we have all the attention from the world right now, and I think we can create change. Everything can happen. It's just I learned that it's just participation, and this is a great opportunity that I'm very thankful to be part of it, because I just want to tell everyone, educate ourselves, learn about where we come from, and we will be stronger. And that's what I tell every single individual in a Skidrow that I'm able to talk.
Okay.
You are amazing person. You come from greatest. You are so valuable. We come from you. So all of us, we have that root, African American descendant.
Okay.
And a lot of people, they don't want to accept it. It's their problem. But,
Yeah.
but we have that.
Yeah, I was going to say, Melvin, Walter here. To try to answer your question, why are there so many African American black males? If you go to any major state
It's LA.
in the country, any urban area, you will find high unemployment, homelessness, lack of medical attention, mainly in the black community. So I think it's a question of we know why. We know why.
Yeah,
You
the
know
whole
what I'm
history
saying?
of slavery
We know
and
why.
not addressing that
Exactly.
problem and all that kind
we
of
know
stuff
why
like
that
that.
is. We know why. We're not going to discuss that today.
Right. And I think it's
Don't be afraid to talk about
I
the
say
thing
LA
is,
is full of black people.
what are we going to do about it
Exactly.
as
Right.
a people?
Exactly.
Until we as a people, as ourselves, individuals, start asking ourselves that. that's when I think we're only going to see change. Until then, we're going to see not only more black people, we're going to see more non-black people. And then maybe it will become a bigger discussion just amongst black people. But the discussion has been happening amongst black peoples for years. I mean, it's not something that's not
because
new to us.
Dr. Claude Anderson, you know, he talked a lot about that. He talked about Dr. Claude Anderson, and Professor Harold Cruz. Years ago, he wrote a book called The Crisis of the Negro Intellectual, Plural but Equal, and he pointed out is that when we moved in the direction of integration, because before integration, we didn't have this kind of problem. Yeah, we didn't have this huge African Americans laying in the street and all that kind of stuff. But he talked about the importance of building your own controlling the economic life of your community. And this is why I look. So I asked Reverend Murray the same thing. He gave a great answer about it in how to get the African American leadership to understand that this is their problem too. They should be at
your
the
question is it's not going to come from the leadership because they're not our leaders. You know, this has to come from an organic, homegrown level. You know, when you say black leaders, who are our black leaders today?
I'm going to cut you off there.
I mean, how many of them really truly represent us as a people, as really as a people as a whole? We're struggling in this nation. I don't see that one particular person who's particularly fighting for me. There's several people who are speaking, but actually fighting against these policies that are directly affecting our lives and that are going to directly affect our children's lives in the future. Our leaders are not there, but I think it's going to have to come from an organic ground level teaching.
One of the things, hi, it's Carmen here. One of the things that I wanted to point out that I've read the numbers, something about 40% of the homeless people, or homeless population in Los Angeles is African American. So it's not 40% of the African American population, but that 40% of the population of the homeless people is African American throughout LA. But the other thing that I wanted to point out is that in our theater group, we are, geared to creating community. The project that we're working on parallels the poverty issues that affect America, and that we live in a society that has no empathy for poverty. And that's nationwide, and it's getting worse. And obviously, the poorest people in the poorest community are going to be the highest affected. They were the first ones to end up in homelessness with drug problems and everything else, but also a trickle-down effect from a society and a culture, in a corporate culture that has no empathy, no sympathy, and no humanity for the constituents, and in a political environment that has no responsibility for its constituents. They're out there looking out for themselves. We know that. And every time we vote, there is no ramification. So
look,
what
one
Walter
of the reasons I got involved,
Walter is saying is that we do need a ground roots effort. And that's how theater, in effect, because what it does, it works from the individual to a community.
Well, that's where I want to go to next, because, see, the LAPD reminds me of the, if you're familiar with the Provincetown Players and the Federal Theater Project. The United States had a national theater company in the 30s before they destroyed it. They thought it was too many radicals in it. But they used to do a project that is so interesting. It reminded me a lot of what LAPD. It was called the Living Newspaper. And what they used to do, they used to take their plays and stuff straight from what was happening in the newspaper, and it became so controversial. See, and this is what I want to ask you. Can you talk about? I think you talked about it a little. How you guys put your plays together? Because I noticed you don't have one particular playwright that write a play, give it to you.
Right.
Even though I hope I could give you something.
I'm not going to answer that. I'm going to leave that to someone else. But one of the reasons that I got involved with LAPD back in 2009 was John and Andrea held a symposium, and I think it was a symposium making a case for Skidrow culture. And it was a paper written by a PhD and
Maria Rosario from the Urban Institute.
Yes, and several of us that are here tonight were there. And this was back in 2009. You guys were there too. And here was this conversation of just artists who had been in the neighborhood for years and were doing their thing to give back or to support the community. And here was this forum, and this was my first occasion in meeting John and Anuret, and I thought, wow, this to me was where I should be, because not only were there were two white people who, you know what I'm saying, who wanted to really find out about black people and support black people, and who were really honest about it. Because at the time, all you saw coming out of Skidrow was people were coming down here literally with cameras and just interviewing people and paying them and then putting it up and direct. It was just horrible, But here were two people who were actually genuinely interested in helping people tell their own stories, and to that day, that is what we've done. We tell the stories of our community. We tell the stories of the people. You may not like it. Okay, it's the truth. Someone else can go on and add on to that, but
but what I've seen is that most of our original works that we do from scratch, we start out reading about it, researching it. John may call some documentation, or there may be some historical context, because some of our people have been in Skidrow even longer than John. And with Henriette, they'll pass out stuff for us to look at, or we'll just have conversations, and from the conversations will flow in improv. With Agents and Assets, we culled scripts from actual congressional hearings.
But believe it or not, when we do these things, the timing is insane. I mean, we just did a piece. We did a piece a couple of years ago, State of Incarceration, that was about being in prison. And we had like two cast members, go down and actually do serious time in the middle of the whole process. So and then again, we just finished another show where we did a hospital where we discussed Obamacare, and we traveled the world with this thing, and that was all the talk. And then what we do is relevant, it's current, it's happening now. So if we're doing it, you better believe.
I just want to say,
I want Kevin Michael to finish his points.
But like I said, it either comes out of improvs, right, or is from city council transcripts, congressional transcripts, other documentation, like Walter's saying, hospital. Man, we read so much about the medical stuff, would be surprised, What I really want to say, though, is that going back to saying, how does it feel and how does it build community? Because part of our mantra, and one of the reasons we think Skidrow should be preserved, I'm a 12-stepper. I've been all over the country trying to stay stopped. It wasn't until I came to Skidrow that I was able to put day after day, week after week, month after month. Bottom line is, out of one of our improvs came the statement, Skidrow, the world's largest recovery community. Right?
Okay, we're going to come right back to that, because I want to open up. I want to talk about the festival coming up and all like that. I want to open this up. want to do one more thing because Drama Stage Qumran will be performing a little short 15-minute section from the play about the homeless called Nailheads. Want to play a little short clip? We're going to go to, we're going to play a little short clip from that. Then we're going to go to community calendar, and then we're going to come back and talk about the festival, do some live performances, and more comments.
All right.
View from 1 to 4. 1 life-giving creative spirit, the oneness of all. In other words, we in this together. 2, duality, the dual nature of human beings. 2 kind of people in the recovery zone. Those that should be here with the support services, the others just passing through. 3, the 3 modes of nature, goodness, passion, and ignorance. The 3 major religions to spearhead the effort and form the 4 points of the compass. Universality. Make it universal. I'm a nailhead, strong as steel, the glue that holds things together. The foundation on which you stand, I'm a nailhead and I'm homeless in my mind. Standing in place and marking time, an endless journey going nowhere. Riding on the train, going in circles. In the language of dreams, things are never what they seem. Are you one of a kind, tripping off the view? Because you're homeless in your mind. Standing in place and marking time. Homeless in the city of angels. Angels without mercy, it seems. You care more about your animals than your fellow human beings. Now, at one time, the cats and dogs lived in the streets, and the boxes and alleyways was their home. Now they've flipped the script where the cats and dogs live in the houses and the people live in the boxes and alleyways. How did that happen? Do you think it's right for the animals to live in the houses and the people to live in the streets? Thank you. Okay, let's take a break for our community calendar, and then we're going to come back and talk about the festival and open it back up for more discussion.
This is the community calendar for upcoming events. This Wednesday, October the 15th, 2014 at 2 p.m., the Compassionate Response to Homelessness and Poverty Group will have their meeting, and the location is on the campus of USC at the Peace Center, 817 West 34th Street, Los Angeles, 989. This is at the corner of Hoover and Jefferson, and all are invited to attend. If you need more information about the Compassionate Response to Homelessness and Poverty Group, you can call 213-479-1764. Upcoming guest on the Qumran Report, Monday, October the 20th, 2014, Odell Ruffin. He's an actor, playwright, director. He will be talking about the stage play that deals with Breast Cancer Awareness Month. We're asking you to save this date, Monday, November the 10th, 2014. On the Qumran Report, we will introduce a new upcoming monthly section of the Qumran Report dealing with veterans. This will air on the second Monday of every month, and it'll be called the Veterans Advocate Network, which will be hosted by military veteran Irene Cruz and Teresa Varn. They will give you information about veteran resources, upcoming information, and much, much more. If you have a community event that you would like announced on our show, send the information to dramastage1@yahoo.com. Attention, Earlene Anthony. The call-in number for our show is 800-893-9562. Now, back to our host.
Okay, thank you, Miss Earlene Anthony. Let's talk about the festival. Can you talk about some of the artists that will be performing at the festival coming up this weekend?
Yeah, so we have lots of artists that are slated to perform. Many of them are from the community. Most of them are from the community. We have some final acts both days coming on at 4:40. We're going to have, on Saturday, we're going to have Frank Foster from Frank's Melting Pot.
Mm-hmm.
And then we're going to have a group of artists who formed in Skid Row that performed last year as well. Some people, Joe Warren and Tommy Newman are going to put together a nice band for Sunday closeout.
That's the church band.
Joseph.
Yeah.
We know Tommy.
So there's going to be, they're going to bring the house down Sunday, and we're really looking forward to 2 really beautiful days of art and music in the park. There's going to be over 80 artists who are going to perform. It's from 1 to 5 p.m., October 18th and 19th in Gladys Park. We're going to have visual artists. We're going to have different creativity stations where kids and adults alike can come together and work on painting or drawing. We're going to have the Big Draw LA as part of the event this year, and they're providing us with some supplies. And there's just going to be a ton of things going on. My friend Mindy Look is going to be doing a jewelry workshop.
And my band, Skidrow Players, will be
Skidrow Players.
drumming.
Skidrow Players,
that's right.
the house band.
Always come through for us.
Yeah, the
Michelle
Skidrow Players are great.
Autry should be there.
Yes, she's a great poet.
Michelle Autry will be there
Uncle Bean.
doing some poetry. And if anyone
Uncle
wants
Bean
to...
is a great rapper.
I might show up.
Yeah, Uncle Bean will be there, and G Nut, and a lot of
Look, let's right now. I want to ask Sasha to do something. Carmen, you gonna do something too?
Please, Carmen.
Let's see, Sasha, what you gonna do for us?
I don't know. I said even I might show up.
Represent now.
Yeah, we got roll with it. We got about 7 minutes left.
Okay, let me do something from Eve Andler. December 1952, 5 years old. My mama tells me in a very scary, loud, life-threatening voice to stop scratching my coochie snorcher. Well, I become so terrified that I've scratched it off down there. That I do not touch myself again, even in the bathroom. I'm afraid of water getting in to my coochie snorcher. So I explode. I cover my coochie snorcher with Band-Aids. But they fall off in the water. Edgar Montaigne, who is 10, hits me with all his might and punches me. And when I run home and tell my mama, and she said, "Don't you let anyone touch you down there." I said, "I didn't, Mama. He punched me." I'm upstairs, and I'm 7 years old. I'm upstairs, downstairs in the basement. My dad is having a party upstairs. And I'm downstairs trying on my new white cotton panties that his girlfriend gave me. Then this big man, my dad's friend, Alfred, comes in from behind me and puts his big penis into my coochie snorcher. I scream, "Oh!" But he didn't stop. And my daddy comes down there, and there's a loud noise. Bang! And there's blood all over me and Alfred. And when I asked my mama why I can't see my daddy for 7 years, she said, "You'll see him soon."
Whoa.
Wow.
Okay. I know one of the little pieces that you will be doing, I think Sunday, something that Kevin Michael just performed in, If the Shoe Fits. I wanted to play a little section from it, but I think I'm going to forego it this time so we can go around and get some closing comments. We got less than 5 minutes to go. When we start over here, closing comments, anything about the festival, contact information.
Yeah, I would like to just invite everyone to come out this weekend. Like Austin said, it's going to be a great event. This is our 5th year, and it's going to be one of the best.
Okay.
I just want to add that this time, because we have been doing it 5 years, there's a lot of artists that already signed up way in advance. But we kept from 3 till 4 p.m. a whole hour unprogrammed because that's the open mic section. So anybody who wants to perform, we've been handing out a lot of flyers this week. Everybody who wants to read a poem, sing a song, do a dance, anything, they will all have 5 minutes, or if there's more time, a little bit more. They can sign up at 1:00. If they come early, they are sure to be in the open mic section, and that day they can perform.
First come, first serve.
Yeah.
And then Twin, I know Twin coming through, right?
He's always there. I haven't heard from him yet. I hope he comes. He's great.
Oh,
Yeah.
Real quickly, this is a beautiful annual event. Anybody that wants to hear and see and participate in our community building efforts and our narrative changing efforts should come. And to that end, what we have added is a meal component.
A meal.
A meal. We are going to provide sit-down meals for people. So come on and get your grub on, folks.
Wow, we'll be there now.
I just want to say that. Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
I just want to say that you asked 2 questions. Is it a black issue? It's not a black issue. I think it's an international issue. Los Angeles Poverty Department has place for me. When I came into the department, I was wondering why I was on Skid Row, why I was here living in Skid Row. And it was because of socioeconomic disenfranchisement. And at that time, it was an influx of women and children. And might I say, this group has caused me to look at the social issues and allow me to come in a therapeutic way and express myself and also get some things done.
Got about 30 seconds apiece.
All right, so if I can fit this into 30 seconds. Before I ever came to Skid Row, I didn't know anything about Skid Row. Only thing that I knew was that my best friend, who died when he was 23, used to go down to Skid Row and buy heroin. But over the last 5 years, I've realized that it's a place that's rich with history, rich with artists, rich with compassion for poor people. It's an amazing place. If you've never been to Skid Row, this is a perfect opportunity for you to come down and check it out. Festival for all Skid Row artists, Saturday and Sunday, October 18th and 19th from 1 to 5 p.m. And if you're interested in displaying your visual artwork, please contact me, Austin Hines, at austin@lapovertydep.org.
Okay.
Go, Sylvia.
Sylvia. Yeah.
The festival?
Yeah, you got about 30 seconds. Anything you want to say? Comments.
Okay, I just want to say thank you very much, everyone, and whoever is listening to this message. This is an opportunity to invite every single one that they want to share with us. And there it is at the festival.
Hey, I want to be real specific. It's on the corner of Gladys and 6th Street, Saturday and Sunday. And y'all gotta come down here because it's gonna be a heck of a lot of fun.
Now, don't be scared.
All right. Now, I'd like to extend a special thanks to the members of LAPD. Please listen to the past shows of the Coomran Report by Googling in Coomran Report. Thank you for tuning in to the Coomran Report, and from your host, Melvin Ishmael Johnson, my co-host, Earlene Anthony, may the peace and blessings of the life-giving creative spirit be upon you and upon your family. I leave you with the song that opened the show, The Gospel OGs with Highland Bird.
Wow.